I mean, there have been some high-profile issues and times when the boardroom has been packed, but generally speaking, we have somewhere between 10 to, I'll say, 50 people at a board meeting. So we've made it a point to get at least 50 printed copies of each agenda item in the hands of the people who are attending the meeting, so that when the agenda item is called out, that they would be able to follow along with us, and they would be able to, and if they didn't get a copy of the printed agenda item, that they would benefit from what was the item's recommendation. And so we spell out, and I read personally the recommendation of the administration. And it's simply that, it's simply a recommendation. It's what the administration believes the Board of Education should approve on behalf of the children. Now, every recommendation that we make does not have to be followed. It can be denied, vetoed through the board's policy. It can be tabled, and if in either case, we're charged with the responsibility, if we truly believe that this is what's in the best interest of our children, to ensure that whatever modifications are needed to get it passed, that's what we need to do. So I brought for you a sample of the type of information that's included in a board agenda item, and I'll walk you through it, and I also pulled some leftovers from last night's board meeting, so that we wouldn't waste the public money and recopy this stuff. So you see that they have tattered edges. We pulled it out of the package just to give you something that you could walk away with to see how the board agenda item is constructed. I will pass out to you the template that is used, the template that's used to make a board agenda item. Nothing is very simple. When you look at the agenda item, you'll see the date. It says January 2006, but that's our template. And this is a way of our trying to make certain that the agenda items all look the same for you. The item that's being brought before the board is either brought to the board's attention for one, either an informational purpose, as an item for the board to take action on, or it's a report that has been requested by the board. And in either vein, whenever the item comes out, when you're looking at it, you will find only one of those boxes can be marked. It will either be an informational item, it will be an action item, or it will be a report or a request. Okay? The title of the item is the next item. That will tell you basically what we're doing. And I think on the yellow copy that we have there, I think it's an authorization to enter into a lease agreement with one of our churches where one of our ethnic programs is being housed. That item will have the number that corresponds with the item that's on the agenda, along with what the action is that we're seeking. In the background information part, that gives you the contextual clue or cue as to why or what this board item is all about. We tried to give you a synopsis of what the prevailing conditions were that necessitate our making this request before our board. And the next item will tell you what the educational impact statement is. That is, what is going to be the end result? How will this impact teaching and learning? What is going to be our plan to evaluate and or to assess whatever the request is, so that when it comes up for renewal again, we will not only be asking the board to do the same thing over again, but we'll be able to provide documentation or supportive evidence to tell exactly how this project has panned out. The next part says the strategic plan compatibility statement. You know that we've launched a strategic plan in Waukegan, and I came in 2004, and that process had already begun. Well, one of the interesting things about the strategic plan is that the strategic plan has to be alive more than or not only for those people who are part of that planning process. We have to keep our district vision, mission, and goals and objectives alive. And when we can link what we're doing in the school system to the strategic plan that has been devised and written by people in the community, because we've not only had district administrators and board members who formulated the beginnings of our strategic plan, we've had a wide band of community as well as parents and business people who are part of this process. So we want to be able to link whatever the board agenda item is to that strategic plan. And one of my philosophies, or one of my dictates has been to our staff, is that if it's not linked to our strategic plan, or if it doesn't have an educational impact, then we're not going forward with it. You don't know what you see that makes it onto the agenda comes through a jury process. Not every item that's brought to us for consideration to be brought before the board always makes it on the board's agenda. So you need to know that until they pass muster at the cabinet level, we do not go forward with board agenda items. Incomplete board agenda items, last-minute board agenda items just won't be handled. So that's one of the sticking points that I have, because if our board is to be able to do business, they have to conduct it in a business-like manner. And I am not one who has great tolerance for last-minute decision-making. And, you know, my mom always said that an unorganized back of the house will certainly make its way to the front of the house. And I am certainly the gatekeeper for that as the superintendent, and I don't want to embarrass our board, and I don't want to embarrass our school district, so I will not allow such items to go forward unless they can, in fact, pass muster. The next item is on D, it says the statute, the board policy, or the rule statement. If we are doing something on our board agenda item, we need to be able to say if it's grounded in Illinois code, where it is, what board policy does it represent, or if there's a rule statement or if it's a past practice. We need to know that, and I think the community as well needs to know this level of information. The biggest one on here so far is E, and that's the fiscal impact and source of funds statements. If you can't tell me where the money is coming from, it won't go anywhere. Okay? If it's a grant-funded expenditure, some people say, well, it's this amount of money, but it's being paid for by a grant. Well, grant monies are district monies, and we have to be fiduciarily responsible when we're spending those monies. Now, we know that whenever there is grant money associated with any action item, that must be embedded in the programmatic piece of the grant that was written. Now, if that can be determined and we can find it and the state has approved it, then we'll go forward with it. But if it's not grounded in the body of the grant, in the narrative portion of the grant, then it can't go forward. If it's district monies, we're even more frugal with it. We want to make certain that it's going to have the impact that we need. Is the cost that we're paying representative of what the impact we're expecting? And then again, and if it's not, and if you're not able to show if it's a recurring type of expense, and it went for this year, and if you can't show that documentation for next year, it won't be on the agenda. Okay? Heretofore, I don't know if we have implemented a program evaluation. In our new administrative staff, we have a director of accountability and assessment and program evaluation. Well, everything that we do in the district, we have to be able to evaluate it. And of course, we get requests from board members from time to time to provide information to them concerning programs that are in operation. Well, this impact or this implementation and assessment plan has to also be a part of the board agenda item. If somebody wants to come back and find out, if you will, whether or not a specialized program that was funded met the targets of the intended impact or not, each year we have to be able to provide that documentation to assure you that the monies were either well spent, it's too early, or the program really takes 2 to 3 years. The change literature says that it takes 3 to 5 years to be able to tell the true impact of any educational program. We don't expect to see an overnight recovery of a problem that has reared its head and has become problematic to the extent that we're willing to start a program on. But over the period of a 3 to 5 year period, we should be able to see some gradual or incremental gains in the area that's targeted with the use of the expenditures of these monies.